Mount Gambier for Michael O'Leary, $21 out to 26.
He's a 9-year-old who almost always races well first up, usually without winning. This looks a very tough task with 60 kilos. I think he might need a little bit wetter to be a leading contender against this field over 1,400 metres, but he does have fresh form that's good enough to put him somewhere in the mix here, and it wouldn't completely surprise if he was the blowout.
We're Gonna Rock has a Group 1 second placing behind More Joyce to his name. That was quite a while ago now, though, back in the Spring Carnival of 2010. Here he is as a 9-year-old. He's at $51.
This is a Metropolitan standard race, and he has been barred from Metropolitan tracks by stewards. Long gone are the days he was finishing second in Group 1 races, not only behind the likes of More Joyce, boasts a Group 1 second behind Black Caviar, and also Moment of Change.
That's good form for a race like this, Ben. In 2011. But we're here in 2015. Tax Evader, another one who has achieved some good things on the Metropolitan track in a new stable now with Charles Cassar, and he is a $15 chance here for the Port Fairy Cup.
He was very good last start at huge odds in a strong race at Ballarat, won by Durandale, where he finished ahead of Profit Share and only 1.5 lengths behind Society Man. He should be even fitter third up, and obviously has to have strong claims based on his last run. And if you look at the price discrepancy, he probably represents a little bit of each way value.
The first of our leading contenders here is number 4, Profit Share. It's the second favourite, $2.80 out to $3.
He over-raced early first up and wasn't beaten far in a strong race behind subsequent winners Wineholt and also Malaguera before wide barriers cost him any chance at his past 2 starts. He was unlucky in the China Bowl 2 starts ago, where he should have finished much closer to the winner Tycoon Tara before he simply had to work too hard from the outside barrier last start to try and take advantage of the track pattern and the way the track was playing there at Ballarat that day. He's drawn perfectly here today. He looks very well weighted with the claim, and it's really hard for me to get out of my head that day he won by 2 lengths last preparation over Stratum Star at Sandown. So even if he did have a fitness advantage over Stratum Star that day.
Number 5 is Steep. It's an outsider and it drifts further, 21 out to 26.
This looks a pretty tough ask based on his first up run. He will strip fitter for having that first up effort, but there looks to be plenty of stronger chances here than Steep.
Bell Rhythm, number 6. Next one to look at. It opened $9 and it's out to 11.
He wasn't far behind Profit Share first up at Geelong, and then came through that same race as Profit Share, Society Man and Tax Evader at Ballarat, where his run was probably every bit as good as Tax Evader's, considering he came 3 wide on the turn while the full that finished ahead of him stayed closer to the fence. He was also going into that race off a little bit of a gap between runs, so he should be much fitter, and he's among the winning chances here today.
Society Man is number 7, and it is our favourite at $2.70. It opened at $2.50.
He finished a couple of lengths ahead of subsequent Moonee Valley winner Written Up 2 starts ago at Kyneton before he beat many of his main rivals, including Profit Share, when runner-up behind Durandale at Ballarat last start. The worry is he's just starting to make a habit of finding one better, but there's no denying that he's in great form and is clearly one of the 2 leading contenders here today.
Number 8 is a topical tip giving how the flies have been pestering you and I today. Mr. Walker, Ben, we should have brought the Aerogard here. Mr. Walker has been $8 out to 12.
Got the blinkers back on last start and proved a class above the opposition at Dunkeld. I've never really been convinced of him at 1,400 metres though, and I just prefer to see him perform at the distance before I tipped him to do so.
What's your assessment of number 9, Royal Request? Neil Dyer trains here, had 1 run since a return from Darwin and wasn't all that flash. It's a $51 chance.
He's a Darwin Cup runner-up whose Victorian form would probably suggest he needs something a little bit further and a bit easier.
What about Artie Shaw, number 10, locally trained here. Matthew Williams puts the polish on Artie Shaw. Open 13 out to 17.
He was only 3 lengths behind Profit Share in January at Moonee Valley and was unlucky not to have won what was probably a much weaker edition of this race last year. I think he might have been in better form though go last year, and I also think the race was, as I said, probably a bit weaker.
And the final one to look at is number 11, Collins Street. Carries the famous McKenna colours. Carried to victory in the Crown Oaks not all that long ago. Chasing another feature victory here. Opened $8, out to 9, back into $8.50.
He looked really unlucky not to win a solid benchmark 78 at Caulfield over this distance in September, and should be fitter for having that first up run under his belt at Donald, where he wasn't beaten far. You don't want to make a habit of doubting Kieran Maher, but this horse would probably have to produce a pretty big peak performance to win for mine.
All right, that's a look at the runners in the yard. Ben, give us your top 4, and then hopefully we'll be able to catch up with Daniel Bowman.
Yeah, I reckon there's 2 clear standouts in this race, and they're the obvious. It seems to have worked out that way throughout the program today. I've gone with Profit Share on top. Society Man did have his measure last start, but I just thought he had excuses. He had to work too hard from the outside gate.